Welcome to Prose Cons, a podcast by writers for writers, brought to you by Precipice Fiction. Precipice Fiction would like to acknowledge the people of the Eora and Durag nations as the original custodians and storytellers of the land this podcast was created on.
Welcome to the Pros and Cons podcast. Today is Matan again hosting the show. I got the other two musketeers, so you can guess there are three of us. We got Patty.
Hello.
And Alex.
Hello.
Can I call us the Holy Trinity? Are we a Trinity in any way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're holy. There's three of us. I think
Absolutely.
that's the only name you can call us.
I just chugged a bunch of holy water just before I came on.
I didn't expect any less from you. Before I ask you the usual question, I'm just gonna say today we're gonna discuss something that we're not proud of. Usually we share a lot of things we are proud of, but today is not that day. Today we're gonna discuss the cardinal sin of any reader, and of course we're writers. But before we were writers, we were readers, and I'm sure you listeners have done this as well. We're gonna discuss all the really good books that we never finished. And if you're a reader, you have a bunch of them. Maybe they're staring at you right now from your shelf. But before we start this amazing, interesting, and fascinating conversation, guys, what have you been reading, watching, writing?
Interesting relationship to that book. Interesting relationship. I'm finding it a little, I'm finding it a little bit sloggy. I am a really big admirer of it and what it's doing. At the same time, I don't know how much I enjoy the experience all the time, and I kind of want to get it over with.
Just for the listeners that missed last week, what is House of Leaves about?
Short answer, it's a horror story that does some very, very interesting things with the conventions of writing and the format of book. It's a story within a story within a story, full of footnotes. It's designed to make you sort of confused and lost and feel like you're in this labyrinthine maze of words. And I got a lot to say about it. And Alex and I, we are planning on doing an episode on House of Leaves sometime in the future.
Really?
So we will give all of our thoughts, and I'm sure we have many. It's a fascinating book.
It's a tome.
It is a tome, and I will not let it become one I don't finish. I will finish this book.
That was my next question. I'm glad you went ahead. And
I will. That's me. That's what I've been doing.
I have been reading a book called My Year of Rest and Relaxation by an author named, I think it's Atessa Moshfegh? Atessa? Yeah. And it's basically about a girl who just is very privileged and rich and just this kind of a horrible person. And she's just like, I'm just going to sleep for a year. I'm just going to take a bunch of pills and sleep for a year. And it's quite similar in... so far in setup to another book I read by Emily Clark called Boy Parts, which I really liked. This one I don't like quite as much, but it's a specific genre of fiction that's quite popular now that I call feminilism. It's like
Feminilism. That's such a good term, man. Wow.
I'm still reading Saving the Cat, and for anyone who listened to our previous episode, Saving the Cat is a book about screenwriting. Now, I don't write scripts, but I felt like a lot of the lessons about how to write a good movie could be applied, at least theoretically, to novels. So, worst case scenario, I'm really enjoying it, and it might not be useful, but thus far, it's a really fun read. Really recommend it. Even if you never plan to write a movie in your life, it's really a good read for sure.
I guess storytelling is storytelling at some level.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I think so.
I'd be very surprised if the lessons weren't applicable.
I think a lot of them just cross platforms without too much trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys for sharing. Back to this topic. Books I've never finished, and specifically the good books that you never finished.
Mm,
So while we could spend quite a while discussing books that we didn't finish because
mm.
we didn't like them, I want to talk about the books that we kind of feel guilty about. So before I ask you, I'll just start that I would like to hear about a book that you wanted to finish but didn't, but also if you have any book that you stopped and maybe a few years later went back to, because I find that that
Mhm.
sometimes happens to me, that at the time I'm not quite ready for it, maybe I'm busy, maybe not the right age, and then years later I kind of discovered I could finish it. And that's kind of my
Mm.
hope with a lot of the books that we're going to discuss today, that maybe we didn't finish them yet, but who knows.
Just before we get into those individual books, I want to come back to something you said toward the beginning of the podcast, that not finishing a book is one of the cardinal sins of reading. That's an interesting statement that I don't know that I fully agree with. And I'm wondering, Alex, if you have similar thoughts. Sometimes you start a book or a game or a TV show, and you just look, maybe it's going to take an amazing turn. I had a teacher once tell us about Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, fairly famous book. Don't exactly know what it's about, probably motorcycle maintenance. And they were telling us how they read the first half and they thought it was lousy. They forced themselves to go on, and it turned out to be one of the best books they've ever read. Sometimes that happens,
Wow.
but I think, yeah, most of the time, I think if you're not enjoying something.
Yeah.
Why not just stop?
Yeah.
Why not just stop? Maybe life's too short to be reading bad books you don't enjoy. I don't want to say bad book is bad.
I definitely agree with you. I think that one of the surest ways to stop reading is to force yourself to read a book you're not enjoying.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, I think that's really true.
But I personally, I do have books that I enjoy. It's just like I feel like I haven't finished them because, I don't know, video games, writing, job, school, dates,
I
you
didn't think
name
you
it.
played video games. I thought you
Oh
strictly
man,
didn't.
no, Will, no, I have an
Why did I get that
Xbox.
idea?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I kicked
Yeah,
Alex's ass in that lizard fighting game, I think.
Oh, you
Lizard
did too.
fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the
Yeah, I
hell
remember
is-
that. Yeah.
Tell him, Alex.
They
Tell
were like
them.
dinosaurs, weren't they? Like the Super NES game with the dinosaurs
Well,
that came around.
what
and,
are
like,
dinosaurs if not lizards? But we're
Yeah, they're just big lizards.
They're,
It's
they're not lizards.
You're not wrong. No,
they're not
Matan
lizards.
Matan
No,
is
you
well
are wrong.
versed in.
They're,
Um,
they're a different animal.
Anyway, my take on it, on DNFing books, that's what they call it on TikTok. DNF.
What does that stand for?
did not finish.
Okay.
Generally, because there are some exceptions.
Except
I'm
it.
sure you guys.
Who's it by? What's the name of the author of it?
Who could that be?
Okay, that's one.
Don't know.
Yep,
Say
I just
it.
wanted to get that out there.
Yeah,
It still counts as a reference if we don't say
no,
the
that's we're all thinking of that, and he's done lots of big books, but yeah, horror tends to be short because horror, it's very hard to maintain that level of suspense over a long period of time unless you unless you do digressions and all sorts of things like that. So yeah, long story short, there's plenty of books I haven't finished. I'm not necessarily proud of it, but yeah, sometimes it is.
Yeah. Okay, I'll digress a tiny bit to explain why I feel so guilty about this. So when I was 18, or when I was 21, 18, it was one of the two, either 18 or 21. Okay. My brother got me for my birthday gift the 10 books he thinks everyone should read. Because he knows I like to read, he knows I like to write. He got me 100 Years of Solitude, Arabian Nights, Metamorphoses. He got me The Old Man and the Sea, a lot of heavy hitters. And as an aspiring writer, I felt like, damn, I should read all these books. And at the beginning, I really struggled. I remember just, slogging through Arabian Nights, and I enjoyed it, but finishing that one took a lot out of me. And one of the books I started, and to this day, I've never finished, was Huckleberry Finn. And, like I almost feel shy to say it because it's like one of the staples of English literature. But I just struggle with the thing, and I read it and I recognize the talent. I recognize how good it is. I recognize why so many people they kneel at the altar of this book, but I just couldn't. I don't know why. On the other side of things, there are some fantasy books that have these amazing reviews because that's what I usually read, fantasy books and horror. And there was this book, The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch.
I think a few members of this group have been singing its
Yeah,
praises.
I think I heard about it from Ali. I can't remember. And I got it for Kindle. And whenever I get something for Kindle is because I'm not sure I'm gonna read it. Alex is nodding.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if I
it's
want
the
to
same.
commit. It's like, so I'm starting to read this book and I'm like, man, this is good. The prose is good, he's capturing my attention. And I just DNF'd at like 11%.
Why?
I don't know. I can't explain it. I loved it. I was, I was praising it. I was telling people that I'm reading it, and I don't know. I think something else caught my attention. I think I started to read a book about middle-aged latrines for some reason. Yeah, that was a good one, but just grabbed me. Yeah, a lot of that was a rabbit hole. Anyway, I ended up going back to it quite recently. I think 10 months ago. I just open up my Kindle once in a while. I'll do that, and I just saw Lies of Loch Lamora, 9%, 10%, and I finished it in about a week. What was different? I don't know. The reader's mind is a tricky place. But what I'm trying to say is that when I stop reading a book, either it's subconscious and I'm not realizing why, but sometimes it's a book I really like. So I'm wondering if that ever happened to you. Did you drop a book not because you thought, man, the characters suck, there's nothing happening with the plot, just because, I don't know, attention span?
Yeah, that's happened to me. That happened to me with The Grapes of Wrath by Steinbeck. And I know, Patty, you always say I should read Cannery Row, which I intend to go back to.
It's so Alex. I will say again, I think you should write something like it after you've read it. I might. Yeah. Just characters. Yeah. Just characters. I couldn't even tell you what happens. Just characters doing a bunch of things, and it's so perfect. Yeah.
That's fun. That is fun. But Grapes of Wrath is really good. I remember just reading the first couple of pages and being like, yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, this is really engaging. And it's very, very bleak.
What is it about, Alex?
Grapes.
That's really well written.
Are there grapes? What's with the name?
The Grapes of Wrath. I'm not actually up to that bit yet.
All right, I forgot we're discussing books we haven't finished. Sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Nothing can grow, so I'm assuming it ties into that. So there's gonna be people just smacking their head here, it's in the first few pages. No, but it's it's a great book, and there's they go through a bunch of travels, and it's just really, really bleak. And they get to the first big sort of hump, and then I was like, okay, cool. I think I might have actually moved and lost my hardcover copy of the book. I remember I had two copies. One was hardcover, and I was like, I'll hang on to this. And then I had a soft cover that I was just thumbing through. And I think I literally just lost the hardcover book. But I've always meant to go back to it. Yeah. And that is my DNA.
What's funny is I have a Stein. This isn't the book I wanted to talk about, but there's a Steinbeck book also of Mice and Men that I stopped for ages. It's not very long. It's like yay big, and for everyone who's not watching the video, it's like, I don't know, 1.5 centimeters across. Just stopped it. Couldn't tell you why. Great book, but I think maybe it was just shiny object syndrome. You get distracted by something else, and then
latrines in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, there we go.
Which book did you want to talk about, Patty?
1984. 1984.
Oh,
Wow.
I still
how
haven't
far did you
finished
get?
it. Well, have you guys read it first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had to read it in school. Yeah, that's a
You
great
had
book.
to.
Yeah. I don't know. Given the authoritarian way the world is going, I think it was a great thing to read. But yeah, that was that's another bleak book. It's great. It would be a commitment to read it again, I think, but I'm really glad I read it.
Its bleakness was the reason that I didn't finish it. You asked how
That's
far
really
it got,
fair.
Matan. I couldn't even tell you
Very
because
fair.
I read it when I was like 18.
But you still remember the way it made you feel.
Oh my
and
God. Yeah.
that being the reason that you stopped.
Yeah. I had a bit of depression and stuff as well, so it probably wasn't a great nexus of like the book itself and my mental health. But my God, it's that it feels so, it could be real. It could absolutely be real.
I did a long time ago, but that happened to me with a different book that I almost stopped, called Never Let Me Go.
Ooh, that's a sad
anyone
name.
heard about it? Kazuri Shigeru.
No.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin
But
it
the
to
name
anyone.
itself just sounds like, ooh, that's.
But there was a
sad.
moment like early in the book that like just made me feel like this is good writing, but do I want to go down? It happened to me with the TV show, actually. This sounds funny. Anyone heard about Mindhunter?
Yeah. I started that, never finished it. Funnily
Yeah.
enough, very good series.
Me too.
FBI agents go to the bottom of the brains of some of the worst serial killers in history.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the dawn of psychological forensics or whatever it's called, right?
And I watched it, and I'm like, wow, this shit is so good, but I feel like crap. I like, it's getting into me, all these depictions of these horrible acts, and I'm just, my stomach turned. This is culture today. Like, you saw what happened with the Netflix show. What did they call it? Jeffrey Dahmer? Is that the guy?
Oh yeah, wow.
It was like the biggest hit on the planet.
That was bleak, really good, but oof.
So some books can have the same effect, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It describes a world in which everything has turned. The world's become repressive and totalitarian, but in such a way that it seems like it can never claw back. Even people's ability to question critically and form their own thoughts has been removed. So the impression I got was like, this is a future that will persist till the end of time, and everything's bad from there. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It really, really got me in the existential feels, and I haven't picked it up since. Now, I was young at the time, and I think I probably maybe I'm just more nihilistic, but maybe I've also just got like a harder shell for that sort of thing. I would really like to come back to it, because I did not stop it because it wasn't good. It was exceptional. But yeah, man, that stayed with me for a long time.
Another book I was reading, and when I say reading, I was actually audiobooking, because I do count that as reading. I don't think personally I take in quite as much information as I do when I'm reading, but I do think it counts as reading. So I would just like to put that out there for all those audiobook fans out there. It counts. It counts. Audiobooking counts. One that I got through, which I did really like, but I just struggle with fantasy. Was The Name of the Wind. I'm about maybe a third through that, and I'm like, this is great, incredible.
Wow, really?
What?
Just fantasy.
I couldn't put it down.
I don't know why.
I couldn't.
Wow.
I don't think I could have not finished.
I would have taken you to the shower if I could.
It's great, and it's narrated beautifully. Funnily enough, we're actually utilizing the narrator of that book, the audiobook version, for Ali's story, which is perfect. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I'll get back to this. Like, it's
could you just plug a little louder? We're getting the narrator of Name of the Wind for the audiobook of our anthology Precipice Fiction, found at precipicefiction.com. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and he is actually amazing. Like he's one of the, I've listened to a lot of audiobooks, and he's definitely one of the better audiobook readers I've ever heard. Yeah, but I don't know. I just got through it. I got up to the bit where what was happening? I think he was like he just won the loot medal or something, and he was like, oh yeah, and he was talking to the girl, and like it's I don't know. He re-met the like
metal shit. I was like, yes,
Yes,
you
finally.
won. Tears. Like I didn't.
I was
Really
like, yeah,
have tears,
okay,
but-
that's cool. You're a genius. You did
Wow.
this for a long time. I don't know.
Wow, isn't that funny?
I think when someone pointed out that he's just good at everything all the time, I was kind of like, kind of takes the stakes out of it a little bit. I am not going to rag on that book because it's a great book, but it's just fantasy generally.
We should have a podcast about that book. But Alex, I do
Yeah,
see
we
what you
should.
mean. I'm a huge Brandon Sanderson fan, like huge fan. I think I read what 9, 10 of his books. But if anyone's familiar with his latest series, the one that starts with the Way of Kings, the Stormlight Archives. Where's Ali when you need
Isn't
her?
that like meant to be one of his best? The Way of
Yeah,
Kings?
it is. It's fantastic. So here's the thing. I got it as an audiobook, 1, 2, and 3, and I didn't finish the third one, even though I love it, just because I don't know. You tell me. I got really far. I think I'm like, it's embarrassing. I think I'm like 80% through, and I just stopped, and I canceled my Audible membership. But so you know that ship has sailed. But it's a great book that I haven't finished. Not sure why. Sanderson, if you're ever going to listen to this, it's great. It's not you, I swear.
Patty, do we want to maybe chat about why we're DNFing some of these books? Like what the psychology behind not finishing a good book is?
Oh, yeah. Do we take them for granted? Do we just think they're always going to be there?
They kind of will always be there.
No,
right?
Alex lost Grapes of Wrath. What do you mean? It's gone.
I lost 2. I guess it's possible.
Well, what do you think?
I think convenience is a big thing. If you don't have the book on you, I mean, like I'm the sort of person who's happy to walk around with a big fat tome of a book, like just in their bag, because I just carry a bag with me everywhere. So I think convenience is a big thing. But yeah, I could. Okay, so with Grapes of Wrath, I have this thing where I'm like, if it's going to be literature, I want to read it in a real book. So because I could get Grapes of Wrath now for probably I don't know, $9-10 on Kindle and do that, but like the buyer's remorse from getting this like really nice tome version. I remember it's like it's a green bound hard cover book, and just the buyer's remorse from like not reading it in that book or in a physical copy. Like I'm just like, I don't know.
Imagine.
I can't just read this on a Kindle. Like it'd be I don't know, it'd be too easy or something. I'm not really sure.
But they look great on the bookshelf. They're at especially
It
hardcovers.
would.
You can put up there. You got Steinbeck. You look sophisticated.
Or I just like it's just a lot of like it's you can just feel his prose is at an early level, and I'm like, this is good. I'll get to it. That's always the feeling. I think it's like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get back to it. You know, it's fine. It's always going to be there. You know.
Yeah. I mean, he's already dead. So I mean, no, I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm just saying, like, it's not like yeah.
I don't think it's insensitive to say that someone who died like 100 years ago is dead. I think that's probably fine.
Yeah. Disclaimer: I only read The Old Man and the Sea.
Great book.
Where would you put that? Like you said something interesting about his earlier level. I think you called it.
I think
where do you rank that one?
I think that's one of his. I think that's one of his later books. I'd definitely say it's one of his better, and that is a heart-wrenching story. It's almost like a fable. I wouldn't even call like it's I wouldn't even really classify it as a novel. I think it's a novella, and it's like so.
Oh, yeah, it's small.
It's so like sparse in a good way. Yeah, that's a great one. I've read that one. I think I might have read that one twice actually. Really good book. Really good book.
So before we move on to other reasons, because I really like your question, Alex, you said convenience. So let's say that right now there's a listener or several thinking about, man, I really want to finish that book that I like. This Alex guy has a point. So what can we do about it? What can we do we're not to just find the right moment to read? Because first of all, we got that thing in our pocket that just, absorbs attention hungrily. And I think that's the number one killer of reading time, just our phone. So as far as finding the convenient moment and spot to read, do you have anything that works for you? Like, I'm going to read this book, I'm going to give it the time it deserves.
Yeah. I think I just keep, okay, so for a start, I keep a copy of it on me all the time. I technically have two Kindles. I bought one and there's the whole story behind it, but I bought one, it broke, I got it replaced. And now I've given my second Kindle to my girlfriend and I make her read that because she has really bad eyesight. And I'm like, don't read on your phone. It's bad for you. Just read on a Kindle. It's better.
Is it?
But yeah, just keep it on you. Yeah, it is. It's like paper. Like, I mean, if
It does
reading
look
on
like
paper
paper.
is better for you because the white light, like it, I don't have any studies based on that, but like this, the
Okay.
font is bigger. You can anyway. It's a bigger
Yeah.
screen. Yeah, but I just keep it on me. I keep it in my backpack. I think the main thing is I really set aside time to read. I'm just like, okay, this is the thing I'm doing now. This is the focused activity that I have. I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm gonna take a break from working, and I'm just really, I just get really obsessed with something. Like right now, I'm watching an anime called Kaiji, and that's all I'm doing until I finish that. I'm not gonna really do anything else. I'll just finish that one. So that's a me thing. Yeah, I don't know, just convenience, keeping it on you, keeping it accessible, found time.
Have it in every format you can. The see Moby Dick, right? Alex, you didn't finish Moby Dick, did you?
No, I didn't. I did
Yeah.
not. I have not
Wait,
yet finished Moby
yeah.
Dick.
Patty, did you?
I did. I'm proud to say
Oh
I did.
my.
Yeah, but like, wow, that's it's a journey. I mean, the thing is huge. First of all, like, it's how many pages is Moby Dick? 600 or
600,
something.
700,
It's
something like that.
effing enormous. It's a whale of a book, but also it's very good, but he deviates a lot. You don't read it for like a straightforward narrative. He goes all over the place constantly, and sometimes it's not like you wished he got back to the main story, but it can make it it's not the smoothest reading experience, but it's wonderful, and I'm glad I read it. And the way I did it was by getting it on physical copy, ebook, and audiobook. And like you were saying, Alex, you just carve out time where you can. Yeah, and I
You
switched
had
between
all
them.
three?
Yeah, I did actually. It worked really
Wow,
well.
that's interesting.
When I'm walking
So
around,
that
I
is the
audiobook.
most-
When I'm on the bus, I Kindle.
I can't do that. I've never done that before.
Nah, it's great. Give it a go. Give it a go. Everyone listening, give it a shot. It's fantastic. And there's something about experiencing in like all three mediums. I don't know.
That's intense, Patty.
Is it? Is it intense? I don't know. You guys are like getting
wild.
a little
I mean-
like reaction from this. I'm like, no, it kind
I
of
mean,
makes
I
sense.
feel like that's what I would do. That's what I would do if someone came to me with a gun and said, "You have to read Moby Dick or I'll shoot your family." That's what I would do. I would get it all three versions. I'd get audio. I'd get like that would be my reaction.
And now you're prepared for that eventuality. That's funny that you guys. So what do you see as like not desirable about that?
I think I have an elitism about reading, like physically reading. Even though I said reading through an
You did just say
audiobook
that,
is
yes,
real
yes.
reading.
Yeah,
and I
you
stick
just
by
praised
that.
it,
I
Alex.
think.
It's okay. He's
Yeah,
complex.
I know.
We
I
contain
think
multitudes.
I have. I contain multitudes. I contain multitudes. I will try and read the classics physically if I can. If I can't, and I usually reserve audiobooking for nonfiction just because I'm like I just need the facts for this. But I'm not above listening to it. Name of the Wind, audiobook. I was reading that. But yeah, I've never tried doing that. Don't you have a problem with like syncing the pages with like the where you are in the text, or you just use chapters or?
I mean, if it's an e-copy, you can just do words.
The whale or the book?
Both.
Sorry.
No, absolutely both. How can you not be a fan of the whale after you've read the book?
That lovable little guy.
I would have felt very guilty if I didn't. That was why I finished it. And it was brilliant.
Guilt is a powerful motivator. Shame is a
Guilt
powerful
is
motivator.
it absolutely is. Yep.
Speaking of shame, so convenience is one reason why we don't finish some of these great books. What do you think is another one? Like if we really delved into the depths of our own psychology.
Because we're just not interested.
No, but that's it, right? Why aren't we interested if half of our brain's saying we should be inspired by this masterwork of literary art?
There's books that you like, right? There's books that you want to finish.
Yeah.
Because want is complicated. I mean, on one hand, we're like, Matan, you were talking before the episode about, was it Tolstoy or Dostoevsky? I always get them
Crime and
confused.
Punishment.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's like
people.
lauded as like a great piece of work, and it's very cerebral, and it's got a great reputation, and so you want to be a person that's read it. Like, you want to be a person that's enjoyed it and absorbed it.
The reads, you want to be, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a part of you that's like, man, this is a slog.
Yeah.
That's me with Moby Dick.
But you finished it. You're my hero in a way.
Because I took shortcuts. You gotta get on the all three mediums train, Matan.
3 platforms.
And do you think you got anything more out of that for reading it in multiple mediums there, Patty? Like, do you think that those were slightly different experiences? Did you experience the different levels of the text differently? How so?
Well, when you read the book, I think you're kind of like alluding to this a little bit. When you read the book, you can stop and put it down and think about something that you've just read. You can easily go back. You can easily meditate on a few sentences. And that's so difficult with audio. Like, you're going to like rewind. Oh, I missed it. Go forward 5 seconds. Oh, that's not quite it. Go back again.
Yeah.
When you listen to it, it's a really smooth experience. And especially with something with a lot of older language like Moby Dick, it can sometimes, it's like reading Shakespeare. Sometimes it can just go over your head, but when it's delivered well by an actor, it's perfectly comprehensible. That's the advantage of audiobook, is you get the delivery, you get the smooth experience. So yeah, they're different for that reason.
Listeners are going to think we're just 3 dudes that don't finish any book, but I have another good one that I started actually as a recommendation from Alex. I want to say you, but I feel like I give you credit for a lot of recommendations that end up not being your recommendations. So
I'll take it.
Did you recommend the Poseidon Adventure?
Yeah. Absolutely, I recommend.
Okay. So throw that into the.
That's still on my list.
So much.
I got it for Kindle. I read, and usually like Alex recommended Ubik, and I think I read it in 2 days. Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
And Poseidon Adventure was another one I got from Alex. Now that we're sure about that. And I got to like 40%, and it's very rare for me, even though I said twice in this podcast and I stopped after. But it's very rare for me that I get past the 25 mark and stop. It just usually if they lose me, it happens early. Like, I won't get past 10. But I got to like 41, 42% on Kindle, and I just stopped. And
do you remember what was happening?
So they were already all the shit went down without the spoilers. Yep. Like, literally, they're all kind of. Was it upside down? Was it vertical?
Yeah,
something
it's upside down.
They started,
ship like flips.
They started crawling. People starting to lose it. There's the guy who's like the leader, but he looks kind of intense.
Did you get up to the bit in the alley with like where they like find something and then like the kid needs to go to the toilet? Did you get up to that bit?
No, I can't remember.
For context, the book is about a boat that's.
Oh yes,
it shouldn't be upside down or
a
whatever.
ship,
it definitely shouldn't.
Patty,
A ship.
I'm
sorry. Pardon me. Yes,
it's
not a feature.
It's not a feature. It's a bug.
Entering reverse mode. Everyone, hold on to something.
But anyway, it's a fantastic book, and I really enjoyed it. And I had such glowing reviews, and I don't know, like, why did I stop? Why did it lose me?
Yeah, I guess it comes back to that question of like do you intend to go back to it, or is it just like, yeah, this is good, but because I think those are different questions, like
I just feel like I got this stack of books that I gotta read, and
well, that's another thing, just priority. You know,
Yep.
priority is a big thing. Like I think that's the biggest reason actually. It's like you get halfway through it and then you lose momentum.
Mhm.
That's one thing. You lose momentum on the book,
Yeah, that's it.
and then you've found something else. I'm a
Yep.
serial. I'll like jump onto another book. Oh, I
Yeah.
found another one that I haven't finished. Dead Souls by some
Ooh.
Russian or some Dostoevsky-ish
Like
era Russian
Really?
author. Dead Souls.
I have to know what this is about. You have to tell me.
Oh, okay. The premise is really great. It's like this guy starts going around to all the people in this town, and I can't remember if I think this is a town he's been away from for a long time, and he comes back to it, and he starts going to all these people's houses. And I think he starts with this farmer who he knows, who's this like big gregarious, like kind of aggro guy, and he's like, "Hey, so I want to buy all the peasants, all the slaves you have that have died on your farm." And he doesn't ever explain why. He's just like, I just want to.
He's buying
He's
corpses.
buying literally dead souls. He's buying the slaves that are on the books of people who have died
wow.
at the guy's ranch or whatever. And he just goes around to a
Intriguing.
bunch of people's houses. and
I'm
does this.
in. I'm
it's
hooked.
Yeah.
There are all these character studies about it. Like it's basically several character studies. And I was audiobooking, and I think I'd like downloaded it or something, or really taken I had it on like a physical MP3 or something that was very difficult to access. And then I lost it somehow, and then like I never got back to it. But it's been in my mind for so long.
Now it's in our minds.
Dead Soul.
But don't I think you think the same thing? Like, that's really intriguing. Why is he doing it?
The most hilarious outcome of this podcast is all of us finishing each other's books, which might ironically happen.
Yeah.
And then spoil.
Well, let me know if you finish the Poseidon Adventure. That's but Dead Souls, that's one I really want to get back to. But I audiobooked that, so
you never found out why he was collecting souls?
Never found out. I can't tell you. I never even looked it up. And the funny thing is that was like, I think I
would have looked it up, Alex. Might
have been written as a poem. He like later on he was like, because he died just after writing this book, and it's a big book, and he's like, yeah, no, that was crap. My next one's gonna be way better. And then he died. Like he went mad writing this next book. So I don't know. It's wild.
I want to drag this to the writer angle of this topic, because we've been discussing it as readers so far. As writers, like, we are aware of this danger. It sounds a bit dramatic, but we are aware of the danger of losing the reader. You work so hard to get them on the first page. You got them hooked. You got them to buy the book. They read 110 pages, and then you can still lose them. And we can look at the outside factors like convenience, like maybe a different book jump, maybe it's playoff season in the NBA and they really like their team. And anyway, my point is this. Do you think it's related to something specific? Like, in my mind, it could be plot beats that are being missed, like they're not exactly in the right spot. Maybe not even the correct spot, but the spot that the reader is used to. Because if the reader is accustomed at this point of the novel to have this plot beat, like, this is where the disaster happened, this is the moment, the all is lost moment, like when Gollum takes the ring. And we're so trained and educated by movies and books to have these plot points, and maybe if we miss them, even if they come a little late, maybe it's like almost like we missed our stop with the train. Does that make sense? And that can be like, I almost imagine this ninja jumping from one metal hook to the next, and he just doesn't jump far enough, and he misses it, and that's the reader's attention, and you lost them. Did that make sense at all?
Yeah, that's a great metaphor.
You got to seed them along through a series of like things like that. That's why I'm always concerned with like not spending too much time in exposition, because I know that's one thing that, like, just remember as a kid, and I've said this multiple times on this podcast for sure. I just remember as a kid reading through the Redwall books by Brian Jacques, which are great. I love those books. They're really, really good. And
Redwall? Sorry?
Redwall.
Yeah, great books.
Redwall, the the rabbits,
Yeah,
Yeah,
the talking
tiny
animals.
the animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah,
books.
and by the way,
Great
that
books.
is fantasy, and I ate that shit up as a kid. So
Mm.
there you go. But I just remember so much time, like 3 or 4 pages at a time, was dedicated to like describing these feasts, and I was just like, oh, it's so boring. I don't care. I don't care how well cooked the pheasant is. I don't care how well you've glazed these pears. I don't give a. I just want to get to the next action. bit.
Glazed pears,
So
man.
that's what I.
Did
took
you
away
ever
from that.
write hungry, Alex? Did you ever write hungry? Because that's what happened. You just
That's
like
a good
and
point.
and the roasted pheasants were. Did they eat pheasants? Because they were animals. Anyway,
Well, that's a good question. I think there was some poultry there. I'm not sure. They had,
Really?
like, ducks and
Huh.
I can't really remember.
yeah,
Can't
poultry is always free game.
Birds
you
are
know?
the only
Yeah,
animals
totally.
that don't have sentience in that series.
Man, I've seen Donald Duck have a turkey. Okay, this shit has no
It's
limits.
a different bird.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well,
That's fine.
yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
So,
yeah,
so you say Redwall. Okay. What about you,
But
Patty?
yeah, it
What do
was
you?
just I
Oh,
just
sorry.
couldn't deal with the exposition. It was just,
But you
so-
did finish it.
Yes, I did. I did. That's a good point. I did finish it. Almost all of them, except the one with the badges. What was that called? Anyway, that one was. I lost it.
Return to Badgertown.
Um,
I have no idea.
Turn to Badger
I think that was
I'm
it.
not
Return to Badgertown.
Quick, sell it to
So-
Disney. They'll make it.
So my issue with House of Leaves right now is you've got the main plot, right? Got the main plot. But because the story is being told, it's a personal account of an essay about a documentary about a haunted house that may never have existed. So it's a
Wait, can
nested
you repeat that
a
slowly?
personal account. Well, actually, it's the editors of the book bringing you a personal account that they received about a stack of papers in essay form that a guy found, and the papers are about a documentary, and the documentary was about a haunted house that may never have existed. So
You just made Inception look shallow.
it does. It's a wacky book. It's a fascinating book.
It is a bit wacky.
Yeah, but it means you've got this main thread, which is what happens in the haunted house, and it just keeps digressing, and it keeps digressing, and it keeps digressing, and it's by design. And then the digressions digress, and then that digresses, and you sometimes just wish it was telling a straightforward story. Like, but I just want to know what happens here. I think books can do that a lot sometimes. They can deviate into side plots that you're not interested into, characters that you don't care as much. The main, you've got the ninja going along he's grubbing the loops like you were saying, and sometimes he's like, but then he just like falls to the ground and walks over and orders an ice cream. Like, no, ninja, what are you doing? The loops are there. Don't order an ice cream. He's like, no, I'll get back to it.
I'm never gonna stand between a ninja and his ice cream, but I think that makes a lot of sense.
I might not want to watch him while he's doing it.
Oh my god, that sounds terrible, Patty. I absolutely agree with you, and I think now that we can actually identify risky areas, we're talking B plot, we're talking about flashbacks, we're talking about side characters. One of the books I really enjoyed, the 5th season. I don't want to say the author's name because I'm gonna butcher it. A really good fantasy book. It has 3 point of views, and the 3rd one shows up like 25% into the book, and I remember thinking, no, I don't want another point of view. I want to stick to the 2 that I have. And that was like the moment where I just kind of dropped it for a while, because like, I'm not getting invested in a 3rd character. Who do you think you are?
So you guys
But
read Wheel of Time?
But yeah,
Well,
talk about that one.
yeah.
But I did get hooked enough that I did go back. But yeah, watch where you introduce your secondary plots. Watch where you introduce your characters, especially if you got multiple point of views. Yeah, because hard-earned momentum can kind of be lost.
I might disagree with that, to be honest. I like the
Go ahead.
digression of sorry, I'm just gonna be no, wrong.
No, it's healthy debate. This is
You're
good.
you're entitled to your those things that you go
to
ahead.
your opinions. No, but Stephen King counter number 2. I remember specifically in Salem's Lot. There's a lot of the charm of that book. Like, there's the main story with the main character Ben Mears, and that's fine. He's like a protagonist, just fine. But there's a bunch of little side digressions and stuff with other characters, because this is a town, and they're talking about a town that's being overrun by vampires. There's a lot of like digression. I remember one specifically, or a couple. Like, I really like those digressions with like nasty characters. Like, you know, they're going to be fairly short digressions.
Yeah.
But like, there's a couple of like unsettling scenes that happen with like there's a guy who walks in at his wife, and she's accidentally like dropped the baby or something, and they're kind of painted as trailer trash, and he's like, okay, now you're gonna get a whooping. And it doesn't actually show that, but it's like that. They're like, and that's really sinister.
Yeah.
And like, just to have that like little spike of like of just malice put in there, you're just kind of like, oh, that was spooky.
I totally agree. Actually,
you disagreed with me, but I fully support what you just said, because I think he works so hard in Salem's Lot to give that city life, to
it's
make
really
that city a character.
Yeah.
And then when shit inevitably goes down, you feel it, because you know all these names, that you're this guy and this guy and this guy. You know who they are.
A lot of books try to do that and then just don't quite go. Sorry, Patty. I've been trying to talk for a minute.
You do that in your story Challenger. There's a character who's an absolute bastard. I'm sorry, I don't remember the character's name. And you've just got like a one scene digression from this, to this guy's point of view. I loved that. That's actually one of my maybe
with the lizard
of the book. The lizard? No.
The three-eyed lizard?
No.
Wasn't there a three-eyed lizard?
Yeah, there is, but that's a two-headed lizard. But this has nothing.
Yeah, the
two-headed.
The lizard was cool, but this is not.
Six eyes.
That wasn't a digression. That was main plot.
Yeah, you're right. It was like when he's driving and he's like, oh, I really want a Big Mac, and then he gets pulled over. Yeah. That's true. I really enjoyed writing that.
And you're right even like when I started it, I think because I knew that this was a pretty disposable character, I could just sense that, this won't be long. So it was just like a fun little excursion into this guy's brain. Yeah, it was great. I think the problem is when it continues to become another big plot that gets shoehorned in. And it's not like that always doesn't work. Sometimes it does work. There's just the risk that, you start to overburden the reader with too many threads they didn't really ask for.
That's right. Yeah, if you've just got like a little like, I don't know how to tie that into a metaphor with threads, but just like a little motif or something, a little pattern that you're just like, there's just this thing here, and then we don't have to worry about it. And then you go back to it, especially if it's in a bit of a dip in terms of tension. And then you have this thing, and it's like, well, maybe the opposite, where it's like, I really want to know what happens. I find that really annoying when it's like, cliffhanger. Now let's go over to something completely unrelated.
Yeah.
And get that to that point where it's a cliffhanger, and then go back to the original cliffhanger.
Agreed.
That kind of bugs me, to be honest.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. It doesn't have to be the same people, but it does have to have a thread connecting them. Maybe even just the theme is the same. Maybe it's, if the story is about fathers and sons, then maybe the other scene is also about a father and a son. It doesn't have to be plot connected, but it does have to feel related. I feel like I learned a lot just from hearing what you guys think about why we don't finish books that we appreciate. Because again, like I said at the beginning, we could have just sat here and dunked on books that we don't like and just slam them and slander. And maybe we should do a podcast when we just slander books anonymously. No, we probably won't. But it's nice to see that I'm not the only one that happens to. All right. Thank you guys for sharing. It was a pleasure. Just before we say goodbye for the day, I just wanted to share a quote with you that I think really fits this particular topic. Again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the name of the quote maker. His name is Confucius. And he has said... Confucius. In Hebrew, it's Confucius. So,
Confucius sounds better. Let's go Confucius.
Confucius.
That's his name now. Neither of those is probably the correct Chinese pronunciation.
This lad has spoken. He said, and I have this quote in my class. That's how cheesy I am. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. All right. Thank you for listening, guys. This was us, me, Patty, and Alex discussing books that we haven't quite finished. We hope you enjoyed the listen. Patty, Alex, it's truly a joy to talk to you guys, as always. And thank you guys for listening.
You're listening to Pros and Cons, the Precipice Fiction podcast.